In the dim light before dawn, the coastal town of Port Willow lay quiet and enigmatic, a serene facade that concealed untold secrets. The narrow cobblestone streets meandered through a landscape of quaint homes and weathered docks, where ancient fishing boats swayed gently in rhythm with the tide. Beneath the seemingly placid surface, every shadow and every whisper seemed to carry hidden meanings and forgotten histories that spanned decades. The salty scent of the sea mingled with the robust aroma of freshly baked bread and brewing coffee, crafting an atmosphere that was at once both comforting and foreboding. In this secluded enclave, time appeared to have slowed, as if the entire town stood on the brink of a mysterious transformation. Elara Vance, a determined young journalist with bright eyes and a keen mind, arrived at the town's edge one misty morning. Her heart beat with anticipation and a touch of apprehension. As she stepped onto the damp pavement, each footfall a stark reminder of the unknown that awaited her. Traveling far from the bustling metropolis, she had come chasing a local legend that many had dismissed as mere folklore. The whispered tale of a chilling event, said to have been woven into the very fabric of the town's history, was too compelling to ignore. As she walked along the weathered boardwalk, the gentle sound of crashing waves served as both her muse and ominous herald. The town itself exuded a mystical quality, its inhabitants harboring guarded expressions and eyes that seemed to reflect both sorrow and silent warnings. In the marketplace, remnants of a vibrant past mingled with the subdued present, as articles past and present were displayed in shadowed corners of weathered stalls. Even the constant hum of everyday life had taken on a surreal melody, punctuated by cautious glances and hushed murmurs. There was an undeniable air of expectancy, as though nature itself was preparing for something monumental. The wind carried not just the aquatic scent of the ocean but also hints of unease, a reminder that beneath the familiar rhythms of daily existence lay an undercurrent of danger. As the morning slowly advanced into day, subtle details emerged that amplified the sense of impending mystery. A portrait in a faded gilded frame, displayed in the window of a centuries-old establishment, seemed to watch over the town with knowing eyes. A distant bell tower, its chime resonating softly, marked the passage of time with unprecedented solemnity. Each element of Port Willow, from the brine-soaked air to the timeless architecture, contributed to a narrative that was both rich and enigmatically dark. The silent story of this place hinted at secrets buried deep within its history, waiting to be unraveled by any brave enough to seek them. Here, in the quiet before the storm, Elara's journey was about to intersect with forces that transcended the ordinary. The disappearance of a local fisherman, once dismissed by the authorities as a simple accident, had stirred speculations that were as chilling as they were inexplicable. The skeptic in her, the rigor of journalistic inquiry, battled with a growing intuition that there was more lurking beneath the veneer of normality. With a notebook in hand and resolve in her step, she ventured further into the heart of Port Willow, ready to peel back layers of apathy and unveil truths that had long been submerged. Deep within the layers of old maritime lore, every whispered rumor and fading memory entwined with the relentless pull of the ocean, forging a bond between fate and the inexorable march of time. Mystery pulsed in every heartbeat of Willow. After her initial arrival, Elara ventured deeper into the layered corridors of Port Willow, where centuries-old secrets lay etched in every weathered facade and silent building. The town's narrow alleys revealed relics of forgotten times, faded murals on brick walls, intricate stone carvings depicting mythical sea creatures, and delicate symbols hidden behind splintered shutters. Each newly discovered artifact stirred in Elara a deep emotional response, bridging the past with the present. As she carefully documented these clues in her worn notebook, the interplay of light and shadow in narrow passageways created an almost magical effect on her imagination. Every step carried her closer to the truth, yet with each step, an undercurrent of trepidation grew stronger within her. In her exploration, Elara often found herself pausing before ancient structures that exuded an otherworldly quietude. In a narrow courtyard, enveloped by the rugged silhouettes of time-worn buildings, the interplay of stone and wind seemed to whisper half-forgotten secrets. The furnished chairs and carved tables, their polished wood now dulled by time, bore witness to countless untold stories and clandestine meetings. Amid these silent relics, the connection between the land and its inhabitants was palpable, a living tapestry woven from threads of folklore, human sorrow, and perpetual resilience. The marks of history were indelible, and the trail of unexplained happenings opened like a silent invitation to those daring enough to observe and remember the past. Throughout the day, Hints and signs began to manifest in subtle ways. An unusual pattern in the tide's rhythm, a series of faint impressions left in the sand along the shore, and erratic shifts in local customs hinted at forces working beneath the surface. The small details, though seemingly insignificant, collectively painted a picture of a town caught in the throes of a profound metamorphosis. The palpable anticipation in the air was coupled with an inexplicable connection to both the cycles of nature and the mysterious legacy of those who had ventured before. In every carefully observed detail, Port Willow spoke of hidden truths, quietly preparing its inhabitants for the unleashing of an unknown power. As Elara's investigation deepened, the boundaries between reality and ancient myth began to blur further. With her footsteps echoing along the deserted Mariner's Lane and as the darkening skies signified a forlorn tempest, the journalist felt that she was on the precipice of uncovering a truth that resonated beyond simple human explanations. In that charged moment, destiny and mystery intertwined seamlessly, urging her forward with silent, unwavering determination as Port Willow silently beckoned. With a resolute spirit, Elara proceeded into the deeper mysteries of Port Willow. Her footsteps carried her along winding lanes that curved unpredictably, bordered by weathered stone walls and thick clusters of tangled vines. The ambient murmur of the sea blended with the rustle of ancient trees, creating an eerie symphony that resonated with the heartbeat of the land. Shadows lengthened as the sun climbed, and every hidden alcove of the town seemed to hold its own story. In one forgotten corner, a dilapidated chapel lay cloaked in ivy and sorrow, its stained glass windows fractured into a mosaic of desolation, hinting at legends older than memory itself. The air carried whispers of a time when the ocean was worshipped as a deity, and the very rocks and the cliffs bore etched symbols of both reverence and warning. Elara carefully traced these symbols with her fingertips, feeling the cold, rough inscriptions that spoke of ancient rites and the promise of retribution. The enigmatic script, partly eroded by the relentless passage of time, held messages that defied simple interpretation. They murmured of treachery, loss, and an inevitable reckoning that the tides themselves would enforce. With every step, the sensation of having crossed a threshold into a realm where the boundary between myth and reality had dissolved intensified. Venturing towards the harbor, the journalist began to compile a mental catalog of clues left in the interplay between human tradition and nature's indomitable force. The weathered docks, slick with the brine of countless storms past, served as silent testimony to both the ephemeral joys and perennial tragedies of life by the sea. As she documented the intricate interplay of light and fog that danced upon the water, hints of a forgotten legacy emerged in the form of carvings on weathered planks and cryptic marks on forgotten pilings. Each detail, though seemingly minuscule, contributed to the tapestry of an unfolding mystery that was both personal and cosmic in scope. The growing murk of uncertainty was further accentuated by a series of inexplicable phenomena that defied logical explanations. At times, the sound of the wind carried fragmented echoes, sounding like soft murmurs that called out from deep within the ocean's depths. Other moments brought sudden, fleeting visions of figures cloaked in shadow, as if drawn from the annals of a past life, watching silently from a distance. The interplay of these sights and sounds conjured in Elara an overwhelming sense that the forces at work transcended natural occurrence. They were echoes from a bygone era, restless and yearning, hinting that the town's calm was merely a prelude to a tempest of forces symbolic and cataclysmic. As day began its slow retreat, and the horizon blushed with the dying embers of sunlight, a surprising clarity settled over the landscape. The ambiguous tapestry of clues coalesced into a pattern that was as intricate as it was foreboding. Although many truths remained elusive, the cumulative evidence hinted at an ancient cycle of balance and retribution. Nature, history, and the personal narratives of Port Willow's residents were inextricably linked to this overarching cycle, as if the disappearance of the fisherman and the arcane inscriptions were merely segments of a larger, inexorable design. In that quiet twilight hour, Elara felt both minuscule and infinitely connected, a solitary figure adrift in a sea of destiny, where every ripple might herald the emergence of long-suppressed truths. As darkness deepened, a pressing urgency emerged. The sky's tumultuous rage and swirling winds promised to shatter the delicate equilibrium, compelling Elara to relentlessly pursue the saga's final secrets. Every moment resonated with impending destiny, fiercely. In the waning light of the approaching storm, the entire town of Port Willow seemed to converge in a state of suspended anticipation. The streets, previously echoing with solitary footsteps and hushed secrets, now bore the faint murmurs of whispered conversations and the soft rustling of hurried preparations. Though the day had surrendered to twilight, an otherworldly glow suffused the horizon, reflecting off rain-soaked pavements and lending an ethereal quality to the town's venerable facades. Residents moved with a careful deliberation, as if each measured step was laden with the weight of ancestral omens and unspoken prophecies. Elara moved through the gathering throng, her presence both discreet and purposeful. Amid clusters of townsfolk silently exchanging knowing glances, she observed symbols painted on old stone walls and heard murmurs about an impending reckoning that transcended the ordinary. Every face she encountered seemed to hold a fragment of a story long concealed, their eyes a blend of apprehension and resolve. In this charged atmosphere, even the familiar became strange, a poignant reminder that beneath every serene exterior lay an undercurrent of inexorable fate. Nature's penultimate act was unfolding before her eyes, with the skies darkening ominously and the wind carrying an unsettling symphony of forewarnings. The looming storm was more than a meteorological event. It embodied a convergence of past transgressions and future reckonings. As ancient as the coastal cliffs were the tales of retribution that echoed through time, told in hushed tones around flickering lanterns and whispered in the language of the sea. Urban legends merged with historical truths to form a mosaic of paradoxes, a delicate juxtaposition of life's ephemeral beauty and its inherent cruelty. In every crack of thunder and every flash of lightning, there existed a symbol of cyclical renewal, a promise that chaos, when left unchallenged, would eventually reclaim its rightful place. In the midst of this charged environment, Elara found herself drawn toward a secluded area at the edge of town, where the boundaries between the built environment and untamed nature grew indistinct. An ancient stone circle, partially reclaimed by the encroaching wild, lay hidden in a grove of gnarled trees that whispered secrets to the wind. The circle, its interior etched with runes and enigmatic symbols, resonated with a vibrancy that belied its weathered exterior. It was here that local lore insisted a communion with the otherworld occurred, an event marked by both dread and divine significance. Elara's investigative instincts wrestled with her growing sense of wonder as she carefully recorded the site's enigmatic details, feeling the weight of history and the imminence of destiny in every stone. Around her, the natural world was preparing for a dramatic metamorphosis. The ocean's tides, reflecting a restless energy, pounded relentlessly against the rugged coastline, as if eager to reclaim the land that had long forgotten its own secrets. The air grew thick with charged ions, and the distant rumble of breaking waves harmonized with the murmur of approaching rain. In this scenario of confluence, every element, from earth to sky to sea, appeared to be a participant in a grand, inexorable design. Elara's heart synchronized with this living pulse, a cadence that spoke to the interwoven fates of the town and the mysteries it harbored. As the final vestiges of daylight faded, an almost palpable somberness descended upon Port Willow. Beneath the impending gloom, layers of history stirred into a restless murmur, each echo a harbinger of revelations soon to be unfurled. It was in these profound moments, on the verge of chaos and clarity, that the true essence of the storm was poised to manifest. A storm not solely of nature, but of the human spirit and the unresolved echoes of a past that would soon demand recognition. Under the ominous sky, the narrative of Port Willow hurtled toward its defining moment. Elara stood at the threshold of revelation, her heart both heavy with unspoken dread and alight with the fervor of discovery. The once muted voices of the town now surged like a relentless tide, each murmur a harbinger of truths that had long been buried. In the convergence of ancient rites and modern skepticism, every symbol, every weather-beaten inscription, and every flicker of a shadow wove together into an intricate tapestry of fate. The silence before the storm had transformed into a charged stillness where reality and myth intertwined inexorably. As the first raindrops heralded the fury of the approaching tempest, the promise of a deadly reckoning became undeniable, a revelation that would shatter conventions and expose secrets hidden since time immemorial. In that moment, destiny's shadow loomed large, heralding a future altered by the storm of truth.